Ah, a camera. A camera's following me in my studio. That must mean a video blog, I would assume. Anyway, there's somebody stood on a chair higher than me filming down. Hello everybody. Here I am in my little home studio doing what they call a video blog, and this is really an answer to Joseph's great question about Phil Collins and what it was like to work with Phil Collins on my album In the House of Stone and Light. Well, the simple answer to that is it was great. He's a lovely man, and he made the whole process really a beautiful situation and easy to do. I was a great fan of Phil Collins right back, as you probably know, from the early Genesis days, the time of Peter Gabriel, Foxtrot, Nursery Crime, and I have fond but also terrifying memories of lining up outside the Southampton Gaumont all night, standing out in the freezing cold around, you know, the old theatre until Genesis to get my tickets to watch Genesis play. That was the Selling England by the Pound tour. And I remember my father came like 4 o'clock in the morning and brought me some hot milk or hot tea to keep me going. That's how dedicated we were to see this iconic band. Well, watching Phil play drums back then, I never dreamt that he would be involved working with me. I did think he was England's greatest drummer at that time. And people tended to say Genesis or Yes, there's Bill Bruford and there was Phil Collins. I always thought Phil Collins was funky, and he had a melodic sense to him. So, zooming up to the time when I did House of Stone and Light, I was in a restaurant, and Phil was in the restaurant too, and I thought, I'm going to go and have a chat to one of my heroes. So I went across to the table, and we had a nice conversation. He was very, very, very easygoing. You know, you don't ever get the feeling that you're dealing with some kind of superstar. He's just so normal, down to earth. What came up in the conversation was I had a band about to record on my album, which I loved, an unusual underground band, the Blue Nile from Scotland, and he loved that group as well. And I said, well, they're going to be at the studio to work with me. And this really encouraged him to want to get involved. And he said, I'd love to play on your tracks. He's that kind of guy. And so he came to my house to rehearse. Into the studio, into my kitchen, and basically he said, play me the tracks that I'm going to be working on. And he ended up hitting his legs to the rhythm of these tracks and saying, what do you think? And I'm going, very nice knees, very good legs, but I want you to play drums. I'm not hiring you to play your bloody legs. But this is the way he was just getting into the vibe, and that's the way he works. Next day we were at I think it was A&M Studios. We had to get him the right drum kit, right drumsticks, and he played on 3 tracks on the album. A lot of people think that he played on the actual single In the House of Stone and Light, but he didn't. He played on Light in Your Heart, I Was Made for You, and then he added some special tom fills on Shape the Invisible with my other drummer, who played amazing throughout the album, Jimmy Copley. And Jimmy Copley was also a great fan of Phil Collins, so I had, in my mind, the 2 greatest drummers for that record. And all I can say about Phil is I thought I'd known him for years. He was so down to earth, so real, just wanted to work, loved music, loved collaborating, had a great team of people around him, just a super guy. And we stayed in touch after. He became a very, very good friend. And every time he came into LA to do his concerts, he'd ring up and say, you know, come along. And I'd say, well, I'll come along as long as you're playing your drum kit and not your legs. Your legs I've had enough of. But it was a... It's funny, out of all that stuff, I just got a man hitting his legs. I'm going, this is Phil Collins hitting his legs. We sat in the kitchen for a good hour just talking about music. But it's one of those sweet things, Joseph, when you get to work with people that you've watched in your youth and marvelled at, and it's lovely to come across them and realise that they're very normal people that just love music. So I hope that answers your question, and that was fun to answer it because it brought back a lot of memories of how good it was to work with a super guy. Cheers, see you all soon, bye bye.